I've traveled long and far just to make it home to you. The Andy and Rem show is the perfect home brew. Remington is here now, so there's no need to fear. We're going through some cool stuff age after year. It's the Andy and Remington Steele show on a Tuesday night. It's the Andy and Remington Steele show for your home delight. Yes, we're talking about Age of Sigmar and anything else that is cool. We're talking about Stormcast Eternals. It's not easy to learn the rules. I said it's the Andy and Remington Steele show on a Tuesday night.
Have you been working on that high note?
It's rivaling your Banshee wail, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, you were so intimidated by my musical prowess that you've actually gone away and trained on those high notes. That shows you what Remington thinks of this incredibly stiff competition he's got here, musically speaking. Well, folks, episode 81 of the Andy and Rem show is upon you, and it's a packed show tonight. It's packed not only with a zillion pages of golden goodness, we've also got some other wonderful things for you this evening. I'm going to be giving away this, a copy of Cheeks. As you may have heard last week on the What the Hell Is That segment, we've been building up a list of all the winners, and I've painstakingly written out all their names onto pieces of paper and put them into this top hat. So I'm going to draw out one of those, and someone will be walking away with a copy of Cheeks, the best-selling card game. So, Mr. Rem, what have you been up to the last couple of weeks?
Well, let's just backtrack a sec, Andy. Andy is giving away his precious. Can you imagine that? Andy's actually giving away something. I think that's a monumentous occasion. That's like...
How do you know that I single-handedly purchased and hand-painted the Golden Weasel painting trophy that we gave away as well?
Let's have a look at this weasel. Where'd you get it from? Toy shop?
Well, I'm not going to give away my sources.
I think it's phenomenal, really. And can I just ask, Andy, does that copy of Cheeks include the 2 bonus cards with yours truly upon those cards as characters?
It certainly does, and I will even include a personalised message to the winner if they so wish. Of course, they might not want it tainted by pen. They may just want it in pure form if they're a perfectionist like that.
That's
perhaps if they already own a copy and they don't want a second one for some reason, then we can sort them out with something else instead. But we'll get to that later on. That's going to be the juicy centre of tonight's steak. So, first of all, let's see who we've got in the audience tonight. On the official participants list, we have the likes of Bazooka J Rambo, Demon _Lizard _from _outer _space, Demos Phobos, Dino Titan Edition, Dreaming Cyborg, Fluffy Dread, Gloom Dready Gaming, Graham Rigg. So you've got 2 beholders there right next to each other on the list. John Brendan Markham, Mega Boss Chomper, Mickey Genver, Rhino of Pleasure, Skeleton Flower, South Dakota Bob, Stu Gibson, and Swifty.
Swifty?
Swifty.
Swifty or Shifty?
Swifty.
I like the way you say it.
And there are plenty of other people in there as well, but not all of them have commented in the last couple of minutes to actually get onto the official participants list, which is quite a useful
It is pretty
experience.
cool. This is one of the. It's a unique show in that sense, isn't it? That we live broadcast, everything's done ad hoc, and there's live chat going on at the same time. So get involved, everyone.
Although we did have a 3-hour rehearsal for this show, of course. We've got our running order, which is about 15 pages today. It's organised down to the exact second that we're going to finish talking about any particular topic.
And as you well know, I don't like to be outdone by Agent Orange on the other side of your camera. And I've been developing my own hit, multi-million-pound hit board game inspired by Age of Sigmar / Warhammer Old World.
Is this the Witch's Coven finally come to life?
It's Witch Coven. I don't know, Coven? Do you say Coven or Coven? I say Coven because it sounds more like a cove that's like a little cave near a seaside. But you may say Coven if you wish.
Well, when are we going to see that?
Well, we'll get to that later, Andy.
We can't get to everything later. Okay,
so we might have to play test it another time. We're running out of time because we've got bags to get through. But I've got some pictures at least to show you of what I have in mind.
I'm worried about this. You know what happens when Remington gets on the old Microsoft Paint? Okay, so I think we're going to go to the old screen share here and look at what's new on the old GW site, just to kick us off here. So a couple of things that we haven't looked at previously because their war scrolls weren't out there yet.
Oh, what? More Stormcast. What a surprise.
Yes, but you must like these ones with these lovely bird creatures they're riding on.
Oh, this one is my favourite Stormcast miniature of all time, I must admit.
Is it? How would you paint the skin? Attempt one of these.
I love the fact that someone's decided to play blockbusters on its thigh.
Haven't they?
It's like a beehive. I really like that effect, and I can't believe it's been done with a paintbrush. It must have been done with some kind of like highlighter pen. But yeah, I think that's phenomenal. I actually prefer the bird to the rider. And if I was going to convert it, I would keep the bird just as it is. And I would put a different rider on. I like the cloak. Now you've turned it there. I love that. I'm going to ask the question, why does this and Griffhounds have two tails?
Well, I would hazard a guess that lower one isn't actually a tail. It's actually just excreting there. And it just happens to resemble a tail. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. When a dog wags its tail, does it go left or right or up and down?
That's an interesting point.
And when a Griffhound, what do you call this bird?
This. Do you want me to read the description? Hold on.
Oh, please.
Commanders of the Vanguard Auxiliary Chambers, the Lord Aquilor are the masters of the hunt, tracking their foes across the mortal realms as they ride the winds etheric. When the foe is cornered, the Lord Aquilor will strike with their starbound blade, channeling their hatred of the enemies of order into every blow as their Griff Charger savages the opponent with beak and claws.
Griff Chargers is the answer.
Griff Charger makes no mention of the fact that it's got a twin-tailed. Is it to do with a twin-tailed comet? Maybe.
Well, interesting.
And when it wags, do they wag at the same side together, or do they wag opposite? In which case, it would be a flappy tail attack.
We've had a comment here from Bazooka J. Rambo who says, put a Zangor on it.
Yeah.
That could become a thing, actually. Hashtag put a Zangor on it.
I think a naked rider, or maybe a loinclothed rider.
You want to see loinclothed Stormcast Eternals?
No, I want to see a Savage Orc on it. That's what I want to see. That'd look great.
Right then. So in Remington's ideal world, there is a naked orc on every bird. Is that the gist of it? Well then, should we look at the War Scroll? Because that's your favourite place, isn't it?
Oh, I just love this bit.
Let's have a look. Let's see how this is going to annihilate your forces on the field of battle. So, it's just a little bit of movement there, just 12 inches. Nothing too crazy. And, of course, heavy bolt storm pistol, which sounds very, very 40k-esque. But it's not a long range. It's only 9 inches, 4 attacks, though. So that's looking fairly decent. In combat, he's got a wider variety of attacks, of course, with the beak and claws, and multiple damage on the starbound blade there. But, of course, it's going to be the special abilities that separate this guy from the pack, isn't it? So let's have a look. Okay, let's have a look at the command ability, first of all, because that's going to be the juicy one, isn't it? So if he uses this ability, they direct their warriors to fade and strike from an unexpected direction. You can remove the Lord Aquila and or a friendly unit of Vanguard Hunters, Vanguard Paladors, Vanguard Raptors, or Etherwings within 24 inches of them from the battlefield and set them up in your subsequent movement phase as if they had been set up in pursuit. So basically, you can remove them from the table and then just plop them down somewhere else.
This and its special ability just make this guy. It may as well just teleport every turn. Don't you think?
Hmm.
We'll get to that. When you get to ride like the wind.
Well, let's have a look at that now, shall we?
Yeah.
So Griff Chargers can move faster than the eye can follow. Can they move faster than Remington's eye can follow is the serious question here. In his movement phase, he can choose to ride the winds instead of moving normally. If they do so, choose the direction in which they will move and roll 6 dice. He can move that number of inches and moving over terrain and other models as if they could fly. So yeah, it's basically a teleport move. They must end the movement more than 3 inches from enemy models. So,
rolling average, let's say you rolled below average and got 6 threes. 6 times 3 is 18. That's 18-inch movement. And that's a poorish roll.
Yeah, on average, you're going to be looking at like 21 inches, aren't you?
I mean...
So then that is without charging, of course. So you're halfway across the table and you haven't even declared a charge yet. You only have to stop 3 inches away. So, yeah, that's not going to be fun times, is it? He also has Ethereal Strike. Any rolls to hit of 6 or more with the Griff Charger's beak and claw cause a mortal wound instead of the normal damage, so just a nice little bonus there. That's not actually that big of a deal, really. I suppose it's on rolls to hit, so you're skipping the roll to wound stage, because it already has -2 rend, which in a lot of cases would be much like a mortal wound. So you're just bypassing the having to wound stage by rolling a 6 to hit, really. So it's a nice little bonus. So what do you think of this guy?
What I'd like to know is if they ride like the wind or indeed charge or run, can they still shoot this bolt pistol? Because it's got 4 attacks.
Well, it's as far as I can tell, it's not considered a run. This move here.
So they could.
It says you can't run or charge actually, so you can't charge at the end of it, but you can shoot.
Well, that's, say goodbye to your war machine. You know what I mean?
Well, if he's in trouble as well, running away 21 inches is a little bit further than most people can typically get, I would say. That's probably a tiny bit further than one of your orc units could travel, for example.
I mean, look, you can charge this guy forward or ride like the wind and get an early objective, or you can hang back and fake it, and then in the last turn, you can quickly claim an objective no one thought you'd be able to reach. So this guy is very, very useful, especially competitively. Yeah. Would I say it's a welcome addition? As a model, yes. Do the Stormcast need it? No. Because they have flying creatures already. They've got the Dracoths as well. They've got Griffhounds. So I think, I think one of the other races might have benefited this model a bit more.
Now, there is another thing I've just spotted here that could be a potential downside. They must end their movement more than 3 inches from enemy models. If this is impossible, they cannot move at all. So, you roll the dice, you see how large the number is, and then if there physically isn't a position you can move that many inches and finish in a legal spot, then you just can't move at all. You don't just move less than the number and then stop. You just don't move at all.
I think that's not harsh enough. I think if they try that and you don't end up within 3 inches, then you should suffer a penalty. Like he screeches to a halt and the Stormcast gets thrown off him and instantly dies.
Yeah.
Because if it was a goblin or an orc or, a more comedy style model, they would get penalties. But no, not Stormcast.
I can't see that becoming a best-selling model if there was a reasonable chance on a Remington-style rolling of a 1 that he would just fall off his mount and die instantly.
I think that could be a good house rule.
Yeah, I think there is something to be said for that roll a 1 and instantly die rule in any game, isn't there?
Okay, what about this, right? You got the Savage Oryx, right? And they love to kill beasties and jump on top of them and, stabby. and they're going to eat the flesh from that. What if there's like commando savage orcs that jump on the backs of beasts, and instead of eating them, they ride them themselves. So they kind of kick off the Stormcast guy and then take over the model. That'd be pretty awesome. Any monster or cavalry.
I think you're wandering into the realms of fantasy here. Although you could argue we are already in the realms of fantasy. Okay, look at this. Vanguard Paladors. So 3 of these. Their birds aren't quite as impressive by the looks of it, and they're not quite as well armed. They've just got their little spears. So it's a bit of a 360 on them. What do you think of that design?
Oh, much nicer in 360. I think that side view, it looks so much lovelier than the front view. And that's the first pictures we got were from the kind of front, but the side, look at that. Love the paint job. Yeah, I must declare, Andy, that it was a while back, but when me and you went to Warhammer World and we were introduced to the Silver Tower game, do you remember that?
I do.
Well, I said to them, I remember saying to one of the head guys there, yeah, you should make more mixed race characters. You know, not everyone's white in the world.
Yeah, there hasn't been a whole lot of ethnic diversity until recently.
Yeah, well, I'm
and
just
there's
saying,
one right here.
But it's interesting that, you know, some of the things I've been saying and doing recently have been, let's say, mirrored by official channels.
Well, let's have the official reading of the description for the Vanguard Paladors.
The Vanguard Paladors of the Vanguard Chamber are without doubt the fastest ground elements of the storm hosts. By transmuting into wind-borne lightning atop their griff chargers, they can ride the celestial hurricane to circumvent the enemy army's defenses before reassuming their corporeal forms to strike at the foe's exposed throat with bolt, javelin, axe, and claw.
Let's see if they live up to that name, shall we? Okay. So 5 wounds each. These have a move of 12 as well, of course. So let's see if they have some of the same rules as that chap that we just looked at. Okay, it appears that they do. Roll 6 dice. Yep. So they can also do that. The Lunar Blade, the Palador Prime can attack with the Lunar Blade in addition to attacking with their shorthand axe or javelin in the combat phase. And on the roll of a 2+, then that unit suffers a mortal wound. So you're basically giving you a free mortal wound for the Prime. And they also have the 6 to hit with the Griff Charger's Beak and Claws. Does a mortal wound instead of the normal damage.
Seems fair.
18-inch range on the Star Strike Javelins, which is nice. A bit of rend on there as well. Yeah, so these guys, they're not all about just mass damage, because if you look at the weapons, they're not going to be dishing out an insane amount of damage. Everything is just a single damage point. But they can strike wherever they're required, really, can't they, with that speed that they have. A decent save as well. And of course, if you combine these with the Lord Aquilor's ability, they can just be teleporting all over the place. And if they get in trouble, they can just use this ability here.
Which sucks if you're the opposing player, because you think, all right, these are like fast and quite hard-hitting units. Maybe you can bog them down. But oh no! As well as riding the length and breadth of the table, if they get bogged down, they can suddenly flee and then charge again.
Well, they won't be able to charge at the end of it, but they will be able to shoot.
Are you sure about that?
And then they could charge the next turn. And if you get 2 turns in a row, of course. So there's interesting strategies going on here. Right then. So we've had a good look at the new stuff. There's only one War Scroll set that hasn't actually appeared on the GW website, I think, from the new Stormcast book, and that is for the birdies. So I'm not going to look at those right now, but we are going to look at a couple of things in the book that I want to show you. First of all, obviously it's packed full of golden Sigmarite nuggets of wisdom and some wonderful artwork.
Did you get this?
Shall we?
Did you get this book for free, Andy?
I did not get this book for free. You think Games Workshop sending me free stuff?
It's only a matter of time. Everyone else does.
It should only be a matter of time if they know what's good for them. It's just that look at the exposure that they can get. They're getting it for free, I suppose, so why would they bother? Look at some of this lovely artwork, though. Very, very tasty indeed. A couple of things I want to draw your attention to within this book, though. If I can rapidly find them. There's one thing that I'm sure you'll be thrilled to hear about. Okay, here we go. So we've got the big picture here of all the various chambers within the Stormcast Eternals hallowed ranks. And if you were to cast your eye across them all, you would see that they have the names of the units filled in each chamber. However, when you look over here, you'll see that there are several completely empty chambers still locked. That means that we have at least 3 more batches of Stormcast Eternals to come.
Oh, wow. We cannot wait for that.
What do you think about that?
I think what they're going to be doing is...
4 more, in fact.
Oh, yeah, well, keep going. They're going to be play testing Sigmarines, and any deficiencies they find in the army, they're just going to open up a new chamber and nerf everyone else.
Well, it could well be. Which of these are you most looking forward to? The Sacrosanct Chamber, the Ruination Chamber, the Covenant Chamber, that sounds like one of yours, or the Logister Chamber?
The Logister, that sounds like they're going to be sat in armchairs smoking pipes.
Well, maybe they will. They've got speed. Now they can have like really slow thrones carried by elves.
Or maybe like chubby guys that couldn't fit in the armor. So just like they're like the home guard. I'll just leave them back in the lodge, and if we get attacked, they can get the old shotguns out and barbed wire and stuff.
Stu Gibson says the Covenant Chamber is totally going to be Sisters of Sigmar. Well, aren't some of them already female technically inside those suits of armor? Hasn't that been mentioned somewhere in the fluff?
Possibly. Mickey Genver says the next Sigmarine release is the Chamber Pot. Very useful, especially when you're carrying around all that armor. You don't get a chance to relieve yourself. So having a chamber pot, maybe attached to your armor, would be very practical.
The mystery of the missing chamber pots. The police have nothing to go on.
Let me just say, that armor is going to rust very quickly.
It probably would do, actually. We've also got an interesting comment here. Bazooka Jevrambo Lozenger Chamber. That'd be good for Nurgle, I suppose. If you want to cast a couple of holy Sigmarite lozenges into his putrid visage.
What about the Chamber of Horrors? Or the Boudoir Chamber?
Is this just the Remington Chamber?
Or the chamber full of semi-naked women?
I'm pretty sure there are a lot of those out there already on the internet.
They've bloody got everything else. They might as well have harems as well, right?
I don't know about that one. Here's a nice wide battle scene for you. Well, I say battle, but all the enemies have already been vanquished, of course. So there's only Stormcast in there. So it is a very, very juicy book, but of course the juiciest parts are the rules, obviously. And there's a couple of things that annoy me slightly about it that I'm going to mention here. So in the War Scroll Battalion section, where you have the various groups of War Scrolls that you put together to get some kind of bonus. So what it'll say is, okay, here's an example. You've got the Stormcast Exemplar Chamber here, and it says this is made up of 1 Lords of the Storm and 3 Devastation Brotherhoods, which is all very well, but then you think, okay, what on earth is that made up of? So you have to actually go further and find out what each of those are made up of, which annoys me a little bit. They've got plenty of space in that box there. They could just put what is in each of those right there instead, couldn't they? But anyway, it's only a minor gripe that I have there.
They generally mean buy more figures. Those
They usually do. There are a couple of them where you have to actually sell your soul and at least a kidney as well to afford the entire battalion. Let's see if I can find one that just has a ridiculous amount in it. There's one here that requires you to have multiples of the various other battalions. So it's like battalions within battalions, and you get even more bonuses then. So I think you'd have to play about 50,000 points to get some of this stuff. So it's a little bit obscene in places. Then, of course, you've got the old War Scroll section with... Shall we have an exclusive look at the Etherwings, the magic birds? Because their War Scroll isn't up on the GW site yet that I've seen.
Ah, right. Well, it's these ones that can run away, then charge.
Also, they don't have the Vanguard Raptors and whatnot on the website yet. But as far as the Etherwings go, let's have a look. Oh, they have 2 wounds each. And they have a move of 12 inches as well, so a bird is the same speed as the Griff Chargers. But of course, they have some magic abilities as well. Have we already looked at these scrolls? Did we already get leaked versions of these?
Yeah, we looked at the birds last week.
Did we? Well, there's also, of course, the Age of Sigmar rules right at the back, for anyone who doesn't have them. So generally, and of course, the points for all the units found in this book as well, which is very handy. You no longer have to go for the General's Handbook.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Just give us a little... How much is that Lord Aquila? I'm guessing 250.
Lord Aquilor is 200 points.
Bad. Okay.
That sounds very reasonable, actually.
So he's as good as 20 Savage Oryx.
Shall I tell you who is 600 points?
There's a guy on Star Drake.
This guy is 600 points.
Oh, cool.
There he is, assembled, kind of. Some parts are blue tacked on because they're going to be painted before they're put on. Like the dude on top of it, for example. And his shield isn't glued on yet.
I always wonder about the guys that are on top of these big beasts. They can't actually reach anyone below them with their weapons unless they kind of lie down and just sort of dangle it down.
Fly closer so I can hit them with my hammer, is what he's saying.
Yeah. How's that? How many choices do you get with that guy then? Do you get many?
You actually get quite a few options. You get options for the posing of the wings as well. You can put them in a different position.
Yeah.
There's a little piece that attaches on the end of the wing, so you can have lower wings instead.
Yeah. What about the guy on top?
The guy on top, you have a few different head options, but I've given him the crazy hairstyle.
Okay.
And then you have a lot of pieces. I think you have 3 different heads for each of the 2 character options that are up there.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of spare heads. You have a lot of different weapons, many of those for the other character that can sit on it. But I've gone for the Lord Celestant on Star Drake.
Nice. So, Joe, when we first looked at this model, we wondered about the Star Drake's armor at the front, and was that optional? Is it like not optional?
No, there's just a blank space there. There are no scales underneath certain parts of it.
Right.
But look at all these spare pieces here. You got a lot of weapons and shields, and some of the armor plates, you can switch them out depending which Stormcast you're going with. Some with the comet.
What's that? Is that barding?
Yes. So some of it's optional, depending which Stormcast symbol you want on there. All the different weapon options. So very, very nice. The only issue I had with it is that I didn't have any glue for a while. So this was the glue I've been using for a long time now. And let's just have a look at the consistency of this glue, shall we? Live on camera. There we go. Look at that.
It's a bit thick.
It is a little bit on the thick side, isn't it?
Is it plastic glue or all-purpose?
Yes, it is. But I've had it for quite a while. So look, it's barely even coming out. So there's no way that was going to go through the fine precision tip of the glue to actually apply it to the model safely. So I ordered some glue. I ordered some exactly the same as this. A month later, it hadn't arrived. So I got an instant refund from them. I sent the eBay seller a message saying, "Oi, this glue hasn't arrived yet." And they just refunded me instantly, as if they knew that they hadn't sent it. And they were just waiting to see if I complained. So I bought another one, and the same thing happened. And then in the end, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to a more reliable seller. I ordered some precision glue, and you know what they sent me? Glue, toothpaste style instead. So they sent me the wrong one. So trying to assemble a delicate plastic miniature with this was not an easy task.
And do you have a Wilkinson's nearby you? Wilkinson's?
Well, anywhere around here that sells glue would probably be twice the price of eBay, unfortunately.
You can get some Gorilla glue from them for about £3.
They did eventually send me the right one, though, which is this.
Oh, that looks very professional.
It is. So that allowed me to finish assembling it. So
how much was that?
How much was the Star Drake or the glue?
The glue.
The glue, I think it was around about £3 something. But there's a lot. There's a lot in there though.
Plus post and package.
Yeah, it was free postage.
All right. Okay. Well, yeah, that's cool.
Skeleton Flower says, "How about calling the Star Drake Star Jake?"
Well, I can't wait to get that on the table, because you don't have get that, not you. So far, I've only ever fought your golden giant in terms of monsters, and I always like to have monsters on the table.
Yeah, going up against your ogres, I think it'd be quite interesting. Your numerous models that just decide when they want to dish out mortal wounds on everybody. So I finally got something that can compete with that now. The Star Drake just lands in combat and decides, you know what, I'm surrounded by lots of models. I think I'll just eat that one. And that one. And maybe that one as well. So you can look forward to facing that, can't you?
Yeah, surely there's got to be a poisoned by destruction troops. And if you eat one of my orcs, you get really sick.
Star Drakes are made of stronger stuff than that. They do spew fire everywhere. So I don't think they'd be too concerned about a bit of corrosive ogre flesh in their belly.
Don't know. I think the Savage Oryx need a poker, a special like monster poker, and then when they get on top of the beast, they like poke it in all its sensitive bits, and then it like goes under their command.
Who would have thought that one of Remington's ideas would essentially boil down to something being poked in its sensitive bits? No one could have possibly foreseen that. Okay,
I could say something rude there, but I won't because I get told off. I
think it's time to do the live prize draw for a copy of Cheeks. So the previous winners of What the Hell Is That have their names in here. I have bits of paper here with their names on. And just to tell you the kind of people who are in this draw, I've got the list of them up here. Some people appear in it twice because they won twice. Andreas Gudmundsson actually won 3 times, so his name is on 3 pieces of paper in here.
Wow.
Who else has twice? Dino Titan Edition and Fluffy Dread are in there twice. And there are several other people in there as well. So,
Andy, I've just thought of an idea, ad hoc. We do have What the Hell Is That possibly today. Perhaps the winner of that could get put into the pot lastminute.com.
Well, I was thinking the winner of this week will just get put into the next pot for the next prize draw.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that would be the way to go. I think we've got enough people in here.
All right. Okay, cool.
Okay, so I'm going to give it a good old stir. You can tell that I'm not looking in there at all.
Remington.
And picking one out. I have a name here right now. And I'm going to open it in front of the camera.
Fluffy Dread.
Fluffy Dread. There we go, it's focused. Fluffy Dread is the winner. Congratulations to Fluffy Dread. So Fluffy Dread is going to be the proud owner of a potentially personalized copy of the best-selling card game to ever hit the market. Asterisk, maybe not. Cheeks. The innuendo-laced hamster game, fun for all the family. Okay then. So with that, shall we go on to, before we get to something that you set up for this week's show, which is going to bombard us with content shortly, shall we do this week's What the Hell Is That first?
Sure. Well done, Fluffy Dread.
Well done indeed. So if you, like Fluffy Dread, would like to be a winner, now is your chance. You could get yourself into the next prize draw by winning this next segment of the show that Mr. Remington is about to play the theme song for. So you're going to identify which miniature currently available on the GW website is represented in very, very close-up form right here. So take it away.
What the hell is that? 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 Only Andrew and Remington know. Actually,
Well,
only Andy knows.
you could apply that to most of the content on this show, to be fair. Okay, folks, what the hell is that? Which miniature is it? Come on.
Does it look like the edge of a cloak? Or a magic carpet?
You never know. Now, I'm going to zoom it in and out a little bit. And I'm going to tell you that not only do we need the correct name of the miniature, we also need it spelt correctly. We need a correct spelling on this.
That's hard, man.
It's not a hugely difficult one. I'm going to tell you that now.
How come it's black and white?
It's not.
Oh.
So there might be a bit of a clue there. Come on. It is something. It is a piece of a miniature. We need the name and we need it spelt correctly.
I think it looks a little bit Arabian. That's possible. An Arabian Persian carpet magic rider.
Okay, we have a winner.
What?
In the comments here, let me just make sure no one else spelt it correctly first. Okay, the first person to spell it correctly was Raphael Marge, and it is Slambo. It's the edge of his axe.
Wow. I love this model. I used to have the original version of this, you know. Chaos Warrior from the 80s. Pretty cool.
Yeah, of course, it's kind of a variation of this model has popped up now and again through the ages. Originally, the Hero Quest Chaos Warrior was very, very similar looking to this. Of course, he only had one axe. And then Slambo, the original Slambo, took that to a whole new level with two axes. And haven't there been two versions before that?
Oh, I don't know.
Now, we've got a bit of controversy here because Dino Titan Edition typed in Slambo twice before the correct spelling was put in by Raphael Marge. So do you think we should put them both in the draw for that?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, I think that's the fair way to do it.
I think it's asking for a conversion, that isn't it? Like something coming out of his chest, or like some kind of crest, or maybe a giant spear being shoved through his chest by a savage Orruk. That'd be fun.
So what do you think of this guy anyway? Because he's in resin.
He's like he's doing the pose of a flasher, bearing his oil.
He is. If he had a cloak kind of round his hands instead of an axe, you could see that.
Yeah, I mean, I love the name Slambo. I don't know if it applies to this figure though, because you know, Slambo, Rambo. I think it'd be someone a bit more kind of, you know, with a bandana on and kind of a bit more sort of heroic and, you know, smashed up a bit looking. You know, I don't know. He looks more like a.
He's very clean, isn't he?
Yeah, Gorax, blood. You know, Blood Reaver or something like that. Something with blood and skulls in it.
It's a nice nod to the retro miniature, of course.
Yeah.
But it looks a bit odd next to some of the current range because obviously it's detailed, but it doesn't have all the crazy little attention to detail that some of the new miniatures do.
I wonder what the is there like any story behind Slambo?
If there is, someone let us know in the chat. Dreddy says he needs to be converted with a cheeseburger in each hand.
Yeah.
Does he need to be converted with cheeseburgers or slam burgers?
Yeah, I can see that. Well, take the axes off and put a symbol on each side. So he's like crash symboling.
I'm telling you now, Warhammer World, Bugman's Bar is going to have the Slam Burger. Slambo's Slam Burger. And it's just like a big slab of meat in a bun. Would you buy one?
Nah. No, I wouldn't buy one.
Would you buy the miniature if the burger came free?
How much is the miniature?
It's quite expensive. I think it's about £25?
Get lost. £25?
It is quite a bit.
Is it like massive or something?
Not really, but it is in resin.
So?
So that's an excuse to charge more for it, surely.
Oh. Nah.
If anyone's bought one, let us know how much it is. It could be like £20. I haven't actually checked. You know what? I'll stop the old screen share for a second. I'll focus the camera on Remington so he can do some amusing facial expressions, and I'll see how much Slambo costs right now. See, he's only £15. There you go.
£15. I'm going to do what my mum used to do when I was a kid. Okay, I'll give you £5.
I don't know whether the Games Workshop staff are allowed to negotiate.
$7.50. $7.50, that's that then. I give $7.50. And free sticker.
I think they would have to go for that. With those negotiation skills, I don't see how they could turn you down.
She took me into McDonald's once, right, when I was a kid, and she said, I want this Happy Meal and this Big Mac burger meal. And they went, well, that's, £13.85, please, madam. I give you £5. That's £13.85. No, £5, that's that then. I don't know whether that this 16-year-old little girl from Leicester just didn't know what to do. She just couldn't counter the barter techniques of a veteran like my mum. I think in the end she got away with paying £10. They did the old trick of where they just go, right, forget it then, and they walk off really slowly, and then the shopkeeper goes, oh, hold on a minute.
Oh dear, oh dear.
I used to just put a little hair in the burger and say I've got something wrong with it, and then they'd give me a new one.
Have you submitted to that live on the internet?
I was a kid, man. I was young.
I'm sure they don't forget these big corporations.
I was young. I needed the protein. I'd actually just said that. I didn't mean it though. No.
Anyway, here's an idea for people. If you go into a Games Workshop store and try to haggle the prices down with a hidden camera or just a microphone on you, and then upload it, that would be pure entertainment, wouldn't it? Can you imagine trying to knock £15 off a Star Drake? If anyone can achieve it, I'd be very impressed.
You could do it. I mean, if you're persistent enough, the guy or girl behind the counter gets kind of like, the only way I'm going to get rid of them is to agree to giving them some kind of discount. But you've got to be prepared to sacrifice all, what's the word? All self...
worth?
Yes, possibly. That's the word, yes.
Respect?
Well, yeah. No, I'll give ultimate respect to my mum, but at the time I was really embarrassed. But I wish I could be more like that these days, So you'd like to have a mortgage, sir? So you're looking to buy a house at what? £150,000? Okay, I'll give you 90. £90,000. 100,000, that's that then. Okay, forget it. Okay, 120. Meow. And you make out that it's a really big deal. And then you just realise you've saved 30 grand.
Dreddy says try to trade a McDonald's meal for a Slambo at GW.
Someone wrote Slambo back in the day was like $2.95. I believe it was actually cheaper than that. £2.50, you could get like maybe even 5 Chaos Warriors in a little blister pack. I don't know if they'd fit, so I'd say at least 3 for $2.50 or $2.95.
Back in the day at my local GW, there was a member of staff who would have actually accepted that deal because he used to actually send kids out to bring him McDonald's food back. I'm sure he wasn't technically allowed to do that, but he did anyway. And he actually banned someone from the store once. I've probably told this story before, but before it opened in the morning, he was a rather, let's say, rotund fellow, and some of the kids would make fun of him for that. And he probably didn't appreciate that too much. But before the shop opened, he was actually like dancing along to the Mr. Blobby song. So you can tell what kind of era this was when Mr. Blobby was a thing. And a couple of the kids outside were like imitating him and making themselves appear to be fatter than they were, let's say. in a mocking manner towards him, and then he banned them.
Here's a question for you all. Do you think this could be one of your controversial new videos, Andy? Do you know, like the ones where you put the controversial title in to get more views?
I wouldn't do such a thing.
Well, what about this one? Games Workshop gives student discount.
Is that true, or have you just invented that?
I've just put it out there, and let's just see if it happens in the next 6 months. Student discount on production of a valid in-date National Union of Students card. 10% off. 20% off. They would get much more traffic through their stores, I believe. Just another Remington idea. Just, you know,
if it miraculously happens next week, then we'll know where they heard it. By the way, Skeleton Flower has not heard of Mr. Blobby. That seems like something that Skeleton Flower will absolutely love if he sees it. He loves very, very silly things like that. So I think I'll have to send him a link later on, or he can just find it himself. Okay, now, Mr. Remington, I get the impression you didn't want to talk about Stormcast Eternals that much this week. So much so that you actually begged in desperation with our audience in the Facebook group, which people should join, by the way, if they're not already a member. You begged the public for conversation topics. You wanted them to ask us questions so that you could stave off the inevitable Stormcast Battletome discussion.
Now, let me just correct you there, Andy. I was just, it was 6:59 p.m. And I was just looking forward to watching Homeland and in a very good mood because Leicester City thrashed Liverpool 3-1. It was very enjoyable. Did Man City a favour. But at the same time, I was thinking, I wonder if anyone wants to, get involved with the conversation. And I put a little question out there. Have you got any questions for tonight's show? And there was a riptide.
A barrage.
A torrent. 112 comments. What about that? 112 comments. That's almost half of the Andy and Rem community got involved with this. So listen, I can't go through them all. And that's
sure 50 of them weren't Mickey Jenber?
Probably. She could, I don't know. But, it's still community involvement is what I'm saying, right? And I tried to answer as many as I could because I knew you'd get upset by seeing so many questions. So I thought, I'd get it right there and then. But let me just pick a few out for you, Andy, that possibly relate to you. There was a lot of references to you, Andy, actually.
I'm sure there were.
Talking to Mickey Jenver, she said, why hasn't Andy fully committed to his orange look and got a nice fake tan?
Well, it depends. If you mean fake tan, do you mean like the tan that you would have to get in a bottle? I assume that's what she means. Would it be considered a fake tan if you were to, say, use a tanning bed? Or would that be considered a genuine tan obtained by...
No, that's a fake tan.
So it has to, for it to be a real tan, it has to be obtained in actual sunlight.
Yes.
Well, I would say that the methods for obtaining a fake tan are probably too expensive for the benefits, I would say.
And that's Andy all over. Okay, so will we ever see any of Remington's groupies on the show as guest stars? Well, that would be nice, but it always seems like Andy invites the guests behind my back and gets them on the show without me noticing. Not that that's a bad thing because he's highly organised, and I'm, as you know, not as organised as Agent Orange. So yeah, I've had a few guest proposals in the past, and Andy has done his best to try and get them on. They've not included groupies just yet.
Have you had any marriage proposals from groupies before?
No, it doesn't quite work like that, Andy. But nice idea. What do you think, Paul Richardson asks, is the best thing about Age of Sigmar and what's the worst? I just replied, Andy's orange jumpsuits, brackets, are the worst. And the best thing about Age of Sigmar was Andy's welcoming committee of Tumbleweed when he visits Warhammer World for Age of Sigmar games.
Well, I don't feel like those were 100% serious answers, and that actually somewhere in your mind you do have something that would be a bit more relevant to the topic.
That's why I said I will try and think of more before tomorrow.
Did you successfully think of more?
No, so I'm going to throw it over to you.
Well, let's see. The best thing I think about Age of Sigmar was the weeding out of the hardcore cheesemongers, shall we call them, in the world of Warhammer Fantasy. There was that golden period of time for the first year of Age of Sigmar when it was all just friendly and narrative, and we were all skipping through fields, all holding hands, making daisy chains. And then when they brought the points in again, those people have started to creep back in, but they seem to be a bit more mellow than they used to be. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I definitely have. I mean, one of the kind of competitive old school gamers is a guy called Skaven AZ. Cool fella, but he did a lot of 8th edition Warhammer reports on with his Skaven army, which has got an amazing looking, what's the thing called with the Skaven mutant thing, the big thing?
Help it.
Yes, he's got like a helpit on wheels. It's a brilliant model. And his arm is instantly recognizable, but he did his first Age of Sigmar battle report. And basically, it's because he knows about a dozen people in his whole state that plays 9th edition, yet he knows about dozens of Age of Sigmar players. So it's just because he wants to keep gaming, he's had to go out and find Age of Sigmar games, which is very interesting. His local game store, they just got way more requests for Age of Sigmar games. So it's shown that a year and a bit down the line, the hobby of Age of Sigmar has really taken off.
As for the worst thing about Age of Sigmar, I would say it's one of the things they tried to thrust upon us, which was the whole measure from the model debacle, which I think most people ignored from the off. And now, in the tournaments that they run, that they broadcast games from on Warhammer TV, they usually point out that they measure from the base, because that's kind of a matched play thing. For competitive games, you can't really have measuring from the model when someone could have modelled their Bloodthirster with an arm that stretches 15 inches across the table. It just gets a little bit silly, doesn't it?
But I always thought that was a double-edged sword, forgive the pun, because if someone's charging the Bloodthirster demon, then they only have to get as close as the sword.
Yes,
right?
But you have a Bloodthirster that fills half the table. So lots of enemy models can attack it, but they also can't hide from it.
I didn't think of that. Okay.
It depends what it is. If you've got a Bloodthirster and you put it on the world's tiniest base and you play measuring from the base, then it would have a similarly strange effects on the game.
Okay, fair play, fair play. My serious best thing is Warhammer TV. I think they're wicked. I think the staff they've got doing that are really cool, really lovely, and they're producing great content. And it's what the community's been crying out for a long time.
The community wanted that tour of the chocolate factory, didn't they? We wanted to see the Oompa Loompas, and we certainly have seen them.
Yeah, and we've got, people on the show that don't take themselves too seriously, and they're really chatty, and they'll talk to anyone, and they're dead friendly. And they're kind of like fans themselves, which I think is really nice,
Yeah, the last year has really been the rise of Duncan, hasn't it, as well?
Duncan, and of course, Rufio Symes. That's not his real name. But Rob is the name he uses. Yeah, wicked guys. Although I've not met Duncan, although I think he's probably been checking out my content religiously.
Well, you say probably checking out your content, but I'm sure someone is actually feeding him that information so he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
There is a mole.
There's a mole in the hole, like a vole, playing the role. Can't carry on with that. Akami Hanzo says, do you think... Hold on, let me just get the wording correct here. Next Battletome. Children of the Horned Rat. Will it happen? Will there be a Skaven Battletome?
Well, there kind of isn't there already?
Well, they are included in the Grand Alliance Chaos, sure. But I think what they're talking about is all just Skaven and the different factions more fleshed out in a book.
So a relaunched Skaven with a new look, really.
Yes. Yes or no, Andy?
I think eventually we'll see rebranded Ratmen, and maybe some of the more recent releases will stay as part of it.
Now, when you say rebranded, do you mean a new, like, maybe sub-faction like we had with the Fire Slayers?
Yes. I think they could do something like that with rats. Give them a really strong theme, because the current Skaven, the model range is kind of all over the place, isn't it? They've got some that have all these crazy weapons attached to them. They've got some that are monks.
Yeah, but they're pretty cool. You've got Clan Pestilence, Clan Skyre, Clan Moulder, right?
Yeah, but I think they'll possibly give them just one really strong theme. Maybe they'll have multiple different rats factions eventually, but I think they'll kind of narrow it down first and then expand out.
Okay, so tell me more about this theme, because I thought the same thing, and I said steampunk ratmen.
I think if they want to move away from how they were before, then they would probably have to avoid that, wouldn't they? Because they were very, very steampunkish.
What about Batmen?
Batmen.
Yeah. They're kind of rats with bat wings. Yeah, rats with wings. Batlings.
Batlings.
Yeah. They'd be pretty cool. They'd look like the Goblin Doom Divers, you know, but with like more ratty and tails.
Okay, folks, I want you to put a monetary value on the Batling idea. Tell us, is that $1 million idea? Is it perhaps a 5 US cent idea? Let us know how valuable that idea is that Mr. Remington has just come up with.
Now, my more conservative idea was that they would do some kind of expansion of Clan Eshin. If you look on GW site, there's only like a couple of models you can get. It's like an assassin and some like gutter runners that I did really old. And the second reason why I think it will be Clan Eshin being fleshed out is not because Tom said it on Warhammer Weekly last week, but because the Silver Tower includes a kind of a Skaven Eshin-esque assassin character. And I think Silver Tower has led the way in terms of where the next releases goes.
I think the Silver Tower was our portal into the future, as was suggested with the aesthetic of some of those models.
Yeah. Just a theory. All right, next question then, man. There's some stuff about Big Macs there. We have some city stuff there. All right, here we go, Andy. One for you. Riccardo Zucchelli says, any news on dwarves / Dwarden and elves / elves?
Well, I don't think we really have any news on either of them, do we? We're still just waiting. If there is news lurking out there related to the Dwarden or the elves, then it's doing very well to remain hidden at the moment. There haven't really been any leaks regarding those races at all. We think we're going to be on the verge of something new and exciting, and then they throw more golden warriors at us.
Yes, I said something of the same lines. I said every week we ask the same question. Just prepare yourself, guys, for mandatory 40k, chaos, and Sigmarines, and anything else would be a welcome bonus.
It could be a little while yet, but we live in hope.
Okay. Here we go. Will Andy and Rem, asks Kim Arn Larson, ever do a full show in musical style?
I think we definitely could do it. I think there's enough combined musical talent to pull that one off. I think I more than pull my weight in that department.
Well, can I just ask, there's quite a lot of viewers of this show that probably maybe haven't seen it for haven't watched older ones that are maybe a year old, because it's been that long, Andy, since you last sang live on this show. And a lot of people don't know your musical talent. They've never heard it.
Well, I'm just waiting for the right time to unleash it again, which is generally when no one is asleep in the house.
Tonight could be the night, Kim. Next question by Jeff Bayer. Will Andy and Rem ever be on Warhammer Weekly? And
haven't you already been on?
I was on one of the earlier ones that Vince hosted. Of course, before Vince sort of took over the show, there was various other presenters, and they were fabulous as well. And they've kind of like disappeared off the radar, especially since AOS came out. But Vince and Tom have kind of made it their own and took it to a whole new level. So yes, I have been invited to be on it. I kind of invited myself, but I got a positive reply. We've got some replies to Jeff Bayer by fans. They say, Mickey Jenver says, Remington will be on the show. Andy is scheduled to be join the hangout, but end up being the only person there. Rem has been invited many times. It's just a question of, can they handle that level of personality? And Mitch Cowan, our dear friend in New Jersey, says Remington and Andy would class it up a notch, but the awesome meter might pop.
That is a risk. There is also the fact that, of course, the hosts of Warhammer Weekly are our sworn enemies, which is why we arranged our show to go on the day before theirs when we launched it, so we could get the scoop on all the news and run their show into the ground.
Well, yes, I did say American audiences might struggle greatly with Andy's dry sarcasm. And then Jeff Bayer replied, I think the best humour in the show is how disappointed Andy seems with Remington every week. Laughing out loud.
On that topic, we had an amazing comment the other week on one of the shows.
I've just made you smile, by the way.
I can't remember who left this comment, but it was something along the lines of something like, first time watching this show, but it seems like Andy barely, in all caps, tolerates Rem.
You're very pleased with yourself, Andy.
That was an amazing comment, though. I think I even put underneath comment of the year.
Barely took right. Christopher Nurling says, what is your favourite model that your co-host has painted? This really stumped me. I said to him, I'm struggling to think of any, Mr. Skelly. Most of Andy's models are average at best. That did sound a bit harsh, but I did follow it up, Andy, with although Andy's Stormcast have really turned a corner in his painting. But I think that your non-AOS models are probably better painted than most of your old Warhammer models. Would that be fair?
I would say the model I'm most proud of at the moment is probably the Dracoths. I think they're very nice.
Right. Okay.
And as far as your models that I think are the best, well, it's kind of a sea of mediocrity to choose from, really, isn't it? I could tell you which are the sweetest smelling because you don't use the potpourri basing anymore, so it would have to be the old elves and the beastmen, wouldn't it? But in reality, I think your squig gobber is actually very good to look at, which is lucky, really, because it doesn't have much else going for it, does it?
No, not really. I'm hoping it will get a rule change anytime soon. Very, very good. Whose model collection weighs the most? Andy or Rem?
Well, I've probably got a more vast model collection, haven't I?
Yeah, probably with all the different games you play. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of my armies are 100% metal for some of those game systems as well. So probably mine. There are several pieces of furniture containing all my armies in this room. I'm pretty sure the old Remster only has a few big boxes for his.
Yeah, I'd have to concur. Andy wins the gold weigh-in. Michael Nichols asks, when are you guys heading to Warhammer World next? Stalker alert.
Well, now that we've been alerted to the presence of a stalker at Warhammer World, we might have to put back our next visit. But really, we should be looking to do that soon, I think, because it's been a few months now since the last game there. So we'll name a date and we'll see how many of our loving public want to come along and join us and have some Age of Sigmar games.
It seems that Michael isn't the only interested party. Kim Arn Larson also said, I hope I one day walk in there and all of you lot are there too. A man can dream. And I very politely replied, if Andy is there, you won't find many others around, unfortunately. In fact, true story, I just found out Games Workshop have an avoid at all cost fan picture list in their head office, almost like an America's Top Wanted. And they have that at the Warhammer World head office. And top of the list is one Agent Orange.
Well, in reality, of course, because Mr. Remington is merely jesting there, what actually happens is that I am such an A-list celebrity in wargaming circles. Ordinarily, if I were to walk into Warhammer World on any day unannounced, I would be so swamped that sales would completely dry up because everyone would be so busy autograph hunting and trying to regale me with stories of their wargaming conquests over the years. And nothing going on around Warhammer World would matter as far as those people were concerned. It would just be all about me, and they can't allow that. So what they tend to do is close off sections of Warhammer World that I am walking through, so that it's pretty much empty. So that would explain Mr. Remington's famous tumbleweed picture that he took in Bugman's Bar when no one else was in there. But they had actually shepherded everyone out of that area, and then as soon as I left, they allowed them to come back in again.
So you're saying they made it into a VIP area?
Anywhere I go is, in essence, a VIP section, yes.
Are you sure it's not like a nuclear, warning, kind of like a toxic zone?
I'm quite sure my version of events is the accurate one.
Well, if I ever get time, I shall replicate Games Workshop's most wanted stalker list with mugshots and send it to them, or even make a poster out of it. That'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Well, we've seen what your art skills are like, so.
All right. Michael Nichols says, what is your favourite and least favourite mission in the match play section of the General's Handbook?
Well, I'll let you take that one first, Mr. Remington.
And I thought about it, and then I said, I better read it first. And Michael Nichols wrote back saying, face palm.
Well, shall we make that your homework for next time?
What, read the General's Handbook?
Well, at least look at the scenarios in the General's Handbook.
I looked at the pictures and I read the points for some models. And I thought, well, that's job done, right? No, obviously not. Christ. He's good to do. And we have Kai Baker, who's going to be in Leicester next week and wants to meet up for a game. And I've agreed to that, so that's going to be awesome.
Is that going to be a battle report, or are you going to promise us a battle report and then make us wait 8 months for it?
He's making my battle reports. He's kind of like making an album. It's kind of like making a Def Leppard album. It takes many years, but when it comes out, it's a monster hit.
You'll have to link me to that battle report of yours that was a monster hit, because I don't remember it.
Moving on. What advice would you give? This is from Sean A. Johnson. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting to collect their first Age of Sigmar army? I'm starting Sylvaneth with start collecting box and one extra unit of Dryads. So what advice would you give?
I would say paint something first that is semi-juicy. Not 100% juicy. I wouldn't start off painting like a Star Drake or a giant Tree Lord or a Magma Droth or something like that. And I also wouldn't start off painting 1,000 goblins or 1,000 rats. You want to start somewhere in the middle, I think, because then you get the excitement of it being quite juicy, and you also get the practice in without the risk of potentially putting a colour scheme on a 70+ pounds miniature that you then decide you're going to paint over again.
So what's a middle figure? Would it be like a command model?
It would be something, if we're going the Sylvaneth, it would be something like the old Kernoth Hunter size. Like monstrous infantry or bigger.
Okay. Yeah, fair play. But you wouldn't go for the Dryad because you've got lots of them and you might get bored.
I wouldn't do them first.
I think smaller models are actually harder to paint myself. I get more fun out of doing the ones with more character because you just feel like, yeah, this is going to be a one-off special. So yes, my advice would be don't get tempted. Don't window shop. Focus on one unit at a time. And that's how you'll get an army painted. If, like I've done so many times before, you paint a little bit of this and a little bit of that, you end up not getting very far at all. So, yeah, we're
a rule for once you start painting it, don't lay out 50 of them on the table in front of you, or it'll be too daunting.
Yes. Now, we're on there's many more, but I'm going to roll on to James A. McPherson, who says, they say Warhammer generals look like their armies. Which character would you be from your favourite army, and why?
I'll let you take that one first.
Well, I can tell you what I think you look like. If you like. No? Well, I think, just like I've said it a million times before, you would make a brilliant witch hunter, Andy. It's your accent, it's your stature, it's your height. All you need is a big clay pipe hat, a dark coat, and a fencing blade, and a black pair of leotards, and a codpiece, and you'd be there, right in an Empire army.
That's the story of life, isn't it? Always one codpiece away from glory. What about you, though? Who would you be? Your favourite army of all time, would that be the Beastmen?
No. I did like them for a bit. I don't know what I like. I like something about every army.
That seems to have been a problem for you over the years.
Yeah. I get my head, I get my head turned easily enough. Could it be the Pygmies? Yes, but I've got a penchant for the underdog, if you like. So that's why I got a little halfling army, and I've started my goblins. I've got quite far with those, actually. Yeah. The easiest army, the most satisfying, was actually probably my ogres.
Well, go on then. Which ogre character would you be?
Oh, which ogre with my... Well, surely with my... with all my travelling and all my experiences going around the world collecting things, I would say I'd be a man-eater. Probably gold fag man-eater. That's me.
There you have it, folks. Remington, the man-eater. Next question.
No, that's it now. Yeah, I'm done.
Oh, is that it then? Well, shall we have a look at some of the painted miniatures that people posted in the Andy and Rim Show Facebook group lately?
Yes, Andy, let's.
Okay, because there is a lot of them. So, to start with this mysterious up-and-coming young artist who I've described as painting noob, because I think they've still got a long way to go. So, what do you think about these miniatures here?
Wow, is what I can say. These are brilliant, man.
Are you being blown away by these?
So, are these like goblin commandos or something on squigs? They're so good, aren't they?
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
but-
afraid you're going to have to tell me, Mr. Remington, because we may have fooled the audience there, but these are actually yours.
Yes, they are. I've rebased them using Age of Sigmar bases. I've used 32 milliliter bases. They're bigger than they should be, but they just seem to. They look better, don't they, on those biggie ones? I know it's going to go against me in games because I won't be able to fit so many models round. And
But,
these guys,
but the unit will take up more space, which might be good.
oh, true. So they could make more of an anvil. Yeah. My favourite one at the minute is the one at the front. I've used the blister pack special edition thing called the Chase, and that goblin's been thrown off, and he's trying to get back on. He's a horse, so to speak. If you look at the back right, I've took a goblin from the Mangler Squig and put a little mini squig. Except it's not. It's more like one of those inflatable hoppers.
Space hopper.
Yeah, he just wants to join in with his mates that look like they're having a great time. I don't think he's going to get very far on that. So, yeah. Oh, these are just brilliant, aren't they?
There's high praise for the squigs coming in from the chat.
Yeah, I just want an army of these guys. And so I have committed to doing that. So in 2 days, I painted 20 night goblins.
Well, shall we go on to our next picture? Because, no, wrong one.
Sorry.
There we go.
There we go.
This is from an unknown amateur.
20 night goblins with the stickers and the bases. You know, the bases took probably longer than the night gobos. But yeah, I went for the old rule: faces, bases, shields. And that's, if you're painting lots of models, focus on those 3 items and you'll be just fine. So there you go. I've got a load of normal squigs I've got to put on bases. I've got my Mangler Squig. I've got my Squig Gobber. I just need like a goblin big boss on a big squig. And then I think I've got my army there.
You know what I think of when I see these?
What?
I think of the brand new Vanguard Raptors with Hurricane crossbows with 6 shots each. And if they don't move, 9 shots each. What do you think about that, goblins?
I think I'm glad it only took me 2 days to paint that many and not 2 months.
Okay, because you don't want 2 months worth of work being taken off the table in one turn.
No, but that has happened to me in the past. So, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Do I want to paint another 20 of these?
Yeah, you do.
I'm going to need them, ain't I?
Next up. Now, this is more like it. This is a future Golden Demon winner here, as you can tell. I mean, look at that. What do you think about this paintwork?
Hold on, I'm just looking at the comments. Wait, let me read that. Yeah,
Look at this. Look at this beautiful miniature.
It gets better the closer you get into it, I think.
This is, of course, my Lord Relictor.
Oh, God. Can I take it back?
No.
Oh. Yeah, it's all right.
Now, what do you think of the colour of the candles? They're kind of yellowish, aren't they?
Yeah,
What do you think?
That's the best bit. I think you should cut off the candles and put them on their own base.
Well, I think that's unnecessarily harsh. Future Golden Demon winner guaranteed here.
I don't know. I've never been convinced with the head of the Lord Relictor. That's why I put a different head on mine. A bearded guy. He looks a bit like a pinhead, doesn't he?
He does a little. He's got a strange nose.
I mean, is that his helmet or is that his real head?
That is his helmet. As far as I'm aware, he doesn't actually have a naked skull under there.
Uh-huh. But he's definitely got a tiny head. He just needs some bit more. Something coming out of his head just to make him look a bit more, commanding.
A flesh wand, perhaps.
Mm.
Moving on.
Okay.
Okay. Now this is more your cup of tea, isn't it?
Oh, you betcha.
This is from Andrew, and this is clearly a bubbling cauldron. What do you think?
He looks like a cauldron of jam, doesn't it?
A cauldron of jam. That sounds like something from Wallace and Gromit.
You can almost spread that, have it on toast, and eat it. I like it a lot. Yeah, I like those spiky things coming out the side. You wouldn't want to really approach that cauldron, would you?
Yeah, this must be custom built. This, I don't recognise it as a single piece.
No.
Or is it just really old?
Well, they're like old witch elves, aren't they? They're like marauder witch elves.
I mean, it could just be a really old miniature, but I feel like something's been added to it. If anyone knows for definite, let us know. Okay, next. This is from Cameron. Now, this is something also that could be suitable for your witch's coven. Looks like many a sacrifice has been performed on this altar, doesn't it?
Yes. Now, if you didn't know what I mean by witch coven, this is going to be my new game. Unless Games Workshop beat me to it.
Which they very well might.
Yes. So in my head, I've sorted out various scenarios about how the game could go, just in case someone robs my idea. I can just change tack. But this looks like a wicked sacrificial altar. Which,
on the subject of sacrifices, by the way, anyone in the chat, let us know which animal Remington should probably sacrifice in order to gain the favour of the dice gods.
Probably a hamster.
I don't know about that.
Is that the thingy from Tomb Kings? The Casket of Souls?
I don't feel like it is. Seems to be too many differences.
I do like it. I like it.
Okay, we've got more Stormcast here. This is from Benjamin. What do we think about that? That's a very vibrant blue going on there, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, he's got a real head as well. It looks like a Bretonian questing knight head, doesn't it?
And, of course, the base. Yeah. There's got some extensive work on it there, so he's following one of the Remington rules there.
Yeah, you could definitely see some great dusting work on the rock there. Well done, my friend.
Dreaming Cyborg says you should sacrifice Cecil the Unicorn.
Yes, you should.
Don't know about that.
Oh, by the way, the sword on that last miniature was brilliant. I forgot to mention. That sword's awesome. The Celestial Sword.
Here's one from Michael. Now, I think this is... Obviously, the banner stands out more than anything else here. So, look at that skeleton. I'm going to assume that's hand-drawn or painted on there.
Now, does that say victory or death or victory of death?
I don't know, because there's feathers in the way. Which do you think could be more fitting?
Well, he could be undead underneath that helmet, in which case it'd be victory of death.
I would say it's victory or death, meaning if you're not going to win, don't even bother coming back home, soldiers. Yeah. Fight to the death. There is no surrender.
It's kind of like death or dishonor, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah, that's a very 90s looking model, I'd say.
Now, what do you think about this?
Oh.
I don't feel bad about calling this an abomination because it actually lives up to that name. Because this is from Max, and look at that. It's purely putrid.
Max, if I don't know if you're married or not, forgive me if you are, but if you have a girlfriend, don't show her this model. Okay? Because I think you might scare her off.
I mean, that is clearly a Vargeist head on there.
Yeah. And
it actually looks pretty unique, doesn't it? You don't really notice that they have kind of a little beard there, do you? No.
Yeah, you do. I've got a friend with a beard like that. It does look kind of satanic. That's like an ogre club as well, isn't it?
Very, very cool and very, very Nurgle. Next. This is from Andrew. And, of course, we've seen quite a few of these guys over the last few months. So what do you think?
Very luscious paint job, that. Very, very rich colours there. The eyes, of course, I must have mentioned before, the thing that makes this model come alive is the eyes. And it's done a great job there. Very much like that what's that? Beneath? No, it's that film director, and he did like Hellboy, and that film about the girl that in the Spanish Civil War. Del
I don't know.
something. Del. Oh, I don't know. Someone's going to write in the comments, but yeah, it looks brilliant, man. It looks very.
The Rust Belt Blacksmith says Del Toro.
Yes, Del Toro. Love it.
I mean, from this angle, you can't particularly see, but I get the impression that book is very nice. The pages look like they've got some work on there. Very tasty. Next, this is from Alex, and of course, Vermin.
Yes, crafty use of a book there as well. Very nice.
Yeah, the inside of the battle tomes. You can see the bit of Stormcast action going on in the background there.
Yeah. Do you know what I'd like to see? This model is beautiful, by the way. Really good paint job, especially on those plague monks. I would like to see a conversion where the plague catapult is kind of misfired, and that plague porridge is all over the faces of some rats.
Plague porridge.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Delicious plague porridge. As far as really kind of drab colour schemes go, they really seem to suit Skaven, don't they? Normally you look for vibrant colours in your armies, but when it comes to the filthy sewer-dwelling rats, then you really shouldn't be expecting too much crazy colour outside of just big chunks of warpstone or what have you. Next. Now, this isn't a paint job. This is just a conversion that I thought was very, very interesting from Rimka. And it's a Stormcast with a snake body with a Griffhound's head. What do you make of this? It's very, very unique. There's definitely one thing you can say about it. Have you ever done any conversions this crazy in your time, Mr. Remington?
No. It's like, yeah, it's very cool, man. Very cool. There's some miniature ranges that have figures like these. I think Reaper do some, and Miss Miniatures do some too. They've got like names for them, like Snake Men or something like that. I don't know. But definitely, like, it could be like a future faction, couldn't it? You've got that in the Tomb King's army, haven't you? You've got the snake sliders. These are like actual snakes.
Did you say manflake snake?
Yeah, it's late. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Remington wakes up every morning and has a nice big bowl of manflakes drenched in ice cold milk. Next up, this is from Dino, and this is very, very nice skin work here. I'm sure you can appreciate this.
Oh, mate, this is so nice. It's such a clean paint job.
Look at the highlighting on that butt cheek right there.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in on that so you can have a proper look at the highlights going on here.
You've got to be quite daring to put these sort of highlights on, because as you're doing them, you're thinking, that sticks out way too much. But if you persevere, when they combine together, they look so lovely.
It's very rare that a painting technique immediately makes the model look amazing. Usually a painting technique makes the model look worse until it's complete, I find.
Yeah. Now, just aside from the paint job, do you think the legs look a bit short? Or is it just me?
The proportions do look a little bit strange, don't they? The arms look quite long compared to the legs.
Yeah. Oh, it's just brilliant, isn't it? Really
It's
cool.
all about the highlighting. That must have taken quite a long time to do, I imagine.
So it's gone for like 2 choppers. And not many Savage Orc players go for the shield, I've noticed.
Skeleton Flower says that's a really good butt. Dreddy says grade A butt cheeks.
Yeah.
So there is high praise for these Auric cheeks. Next up, this is from Timothy, and this is a Lord Celestant on Dracoth. Very, very tasty indeed. It's just a really nice model to work with because there's so much detail on it that can easily be picked out, I found. Especially the scales. Painting the scales really adds something to it, and it's a reason I'm not so keen on the new Stormcast Cavalry, actually, because they don't have scales. So I much prefer painting something with a bit of texture rather than flat skin. So this is another nice example of this particular model. We've seen many of these.
You have to know what you're doing when you're painting flat skin. So that's kind of
controversial.
You're out the game, then, isn't it? That's a great fig.
This is another one from Timothy, by the way. And the reason I'm showing this is because this is like what Jeff's final form would be. Of course, Jeff is like a very small Reaper Bones Chimera. This is like the ultimate Chimera. So when you're fighting Jeff, you think you've defeated him, and then he like evolves into this before your very eyes and just eats you alive. It's pretty much in Jeff's color scheme. So very nice model there as well.
Yeah, nice one.
Not many left now. Now this is from Lee.
Wow. He's gone for the old book technique then. Very nice. Yeah, this is stunning. Now, if I'm not mistaken, he's gone for a cherry blossom Sylvaneth army. With the kind of like the Japanese cherry blossom pink leaves style, which I absolutely adore. So
it's very interesting.
Stunning, man. This is great.
And on the same theme, this is, of course, from potential future Golden Demon winner, Amy Snuggs, repeated guest on this show.
Wow.
And look at that.
Yeah, it's just like straight out of a GW catalogue, isn't it? That is.
And this also, it's the colour choice and the highlighting, I would say, the big things here. Because there are certain parts of it that draw your eye. This is me trying to be a painting critic, by the way. The end of the staff here, with the pink, definitely grabs you. The little owl up there certainly does. The little splashes of colour all over the place. And then any individual part that you look at, the highlighting, it's very striking, isn't it? Like on this long, would you even call it a beard when it's on a tree?
Your tree beard, isn't it? Yeah, I love it. I would have gone for the same choice as well, Amy, when it comes to the weapon, because I always felt that having a giant sword felt a bit weird for a tree to be wielding. So yeah, I think a mushroom staff would be more, because when he gets hungry, he can just nibble on the end of that staff, can't he, and get vital nutrients.
So Dreddy says, praise the tiny owl. So there we've got a close-up of the tiny owl. And you can actually see how much work has gone into that tiny owl when you get really close up. These must be really high-resolution images she's got here.
I mean, from Amy started painting what, maybe like a couple of years ago with Age of Sigmar, a year and a half. She's probably got, how many armies she's got? She's got like ogres, fire slayers, Stormcast. She's got Sylvaneth now. She's like racking up the armies.
Indeed. Okay, that's it then.
And a lizard men as well. So that's Seraphon. That's 5. That's it. Wow.
So finally, before we disappear for the night, I think you should show us something that you've been working on, shouldn't you?
I'm going to save it, Andy. I'm going to save it because it deserves. It doesn't deserve to be just bolted on to the back of the show. This, whole concept of Witch Coven is going to be bigger than Gore Chosen. All right, it's going to be bigger than Dreadfleet. I'm thinking it's going to be like bigger than Silver Tower because it's going to be like more accessible and stuff, and it's going to be more just downright evil and dirty. I'm talking about Witch Coven. It's coming soon. We're going to play test it live on the game. That's what I propose, Andy. And I need 2 weeks to just iron out.
We may actually need volunteers to join in playing it as well.
That'd be so much fun. It's like imagine Gore Chosen mixed with Silver Tower. So there's a bit of a narrative there and some choices mixed with bloody-handed combat.
And imagine all that mixed up in the ultimate melting pot that is the mind of Remington Steele, where many a dangerous thought has leapt. from.
And rolling a 1 may not be the worst outcome. That's the caption. Rolling a 1, not the worst outcome. Maybe I could put that on the back of the box.
I have actually dabbled with trying to write a couple of games where rolling a 1 is the overall objective, so I think they would suit you down to the ground. And I think we should actually release a set of limited edition Remington dice.
Well, they're just all 1s.
There could be a couple of them in there that are all 1s, and then just a regular dice, but on the 1 it just says Remington.
Yeah. But like not written flat. It's got to be like written like a speech thing. Remington, like it's that'd be cool. But look out for Witch Coven. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to need some help because, as you know, here lies a think tank. All right, and these hands are very creative, but I need help. I'm a really good team worker, collaborator. As long as my ideas aren't stolen,
Duncan.
I don't mind sharing. Okay.
Okay, I think it's time to wrap this one up then, because obviously we had a bit of a late start because Mr. Remington's limo got caught in traffic on the way to the Andy and Rem studio. So, I think it's time to fire up the old screen share again.
I will. I mean, I must say, Mickey's already supported me, and she's already supplied me with a model. And Andy, I know you've agreed to sing, so I can't.
Well, unfortunately, I won't be able to sing this week because it's so late, and I will wake up people. Wake people up, should I say? So I'm afraid people have to stare at this image of Remington dreaming of elves when all we've got is Stormcast, and maybe that's going to be the theme of his song that's going to play us out on this wonderful evening. So thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a packed house throughout. Don't forget to like the video, leave a comment. If you're not watching live, you can leave a permanent comment, which of course we will respond to in good time. Don't forget to join the Facebook group. Check out all the links in the description as usual. And I now turn things over to our musical maestro.
Time to say goodbye, friends. Time to wave goodbye. You've waited more than an hour just for Remington to arrive. My apologies, I'm just fashionably late. We've seen the Stormcast arrive, and it seems they just won't go away. Good night, everybody.
Hope you enjoyed Pancake Day.